Thank everybody for being here, Brad, for putting this together. A couple things before we get to the meat and potatoes of this whole thing. First, want to wish my daughter her 21st happy birthday. I called her last night at midnight. She was home with her roommates. It's good late night discipline, so I'm fired up about that. She's got to continue that all weekend, though. It's crazy around here. And then on a serious note, congrats to Mike O'Neill and the women's soccer program winning a Big Ten championship. That's huge. It's huge for Rutgers athletics, huge for Mike. I'm pretty close with them and communicate with them quite a bit. So it's great to see. It's a hard thing to do. It's a big deal around here. Obviously, we've had a taste of winning a couple individual national championships, so I kind of understand a little bit about how they're probably feeling right now. The best thing about it is they got a Big Ten tournament coming up and a national tournament to look forward to. And the same with Meredith in field hockey, ranked number 2 in the country. Just an awesome year. So it's great to see what's happening with our athletic department and all that good stuff. So congrats to those two programs. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate it. It's good we're not on a Zoom. We're back to normal. You guys have given us an incredible platform over the years to make Rutgers Wrestling a really, really big deal. So I truly appreciate all you guys. Understand that room is always open for you guys to come in and check out practice and just go through Brad, because I'll screw that up too, and I don't want to do that. But you're more than welcome to come in there at any point. And again, just communicate, because I want you to come in. If you're going to come in, let's make sure it's a really good practice and not just kind of like a make weight type day. So some key dates: inter squad, indicator matches, whatever you want to call them, wrestle offs. They will happen this Saturday. You guys, for the most part, know how I feel about those matches. They mean very little to me. They're important for the program because we're going to simulate our first weigh-in. We're going to get down to weight. We're going to have a 2-hour weigh-in. We'll weigh in at 8, and then we'll wrestle off at 10. So we're simulating getting down to weight Friday night, maybe have to come in the morning to get down to weight, what we're putting in our bodies after weigh-ins, and then we're going to have a match in and compete. We'll have officials come in, so it's a real-life feel. There'll be some anxiety. There'll be some nerves. You're wrestling their teammates. But as far as results go, mean very little to me, mean very little. We're going to find guys that can compete in a big-time atmosphere, guys that love the competition, want to put their foot on the line, and that will happen as we go through the first semester. That will really help us solidify our lineup. So that's kind of how I feel about those. Season opener November 7th. It's a quad. Not a huge fan of quads, but we've always started with 3 matches to start, and it gives us an opportunity to get everybody involved. I think at this point, everybody is on the board, probably besides Nick Ramo, who will not be on the board for a while. Dean Peterson probably won't be ready November 7th to compete. Billy Janzer probably won't be ready to compete November 7th. But other than that, everybody else is on the board. This gives us an opportunity for guys to compete in that building. I'm not sure what I can call that building at this point, but you guys kind of get the gist of what I'm talking about when I point. So everybody's on the board for that, and they're excited. They're excited to wrestle in an environment again and with fans, and just that's what we got going November 7th. There's excitement. There's excitement in the program. There's excitement with the expectations. There are expectations. This is a really deep team. There's 4 returning All-Americans. 7 national qualifiers are in the lineup. There's 8 guys right now are nationally ranked in our program, and just as of last night, Intermat came out where we're preseason number 12 in the country. So with that, there's a lot of expectations. As far as season tickets, I think we're about 2,600 right now, a little bit low for my liking. I'd love to get to the 3,000 mark. That's important to me. I saw Iowa yesterday announced they're at 10,000 plus for season tickets. Obviously, we can't fit 10,000, but it'd be nice to get to 3 or 4. So we got to do a better job of communicating with our fans, parents, families, relatives, and selling a little bit more season tickets. We want to make that one of the best atmospheres in college wrestling. So we got to get on that pretty quickly. The schedule, super challenging. Excited about it, obviously. 9 home duels here. Big Ten schedules, the Big Ten schedule. And then we went out of conference. Did a good job, I think, out of conference. We got Princeton, who's a nationally ranked program. Obviously, that'll be a match we wrestle for a trophy, so it's important to us. That'll never leave the schedule. Ryder is back on the schedule for the Jersey fans. I know that's important to them. So for the time being, they're on the schedule. And we'll wrestle up at the Prudential Center November 27th, I think 2 days after Thanksgiving, where we're going to wrestle Hofstra in North Carolina. So good test. And there's some others in there, Army at home, American away. We'll go back to the Midlands Championship, which is a really fun tournament for our program and our staff. We like being involved in the Midlands. And some of our redshirts, who, when we decide to redshirt, they'll go down to the Scuffle. So a lot of wrestling going on first semester. We're excited about the schedule. As far as redshirts go, I'm sure that's going to come up. We're super, super excited about our freshman class. For the last 2 years, really the last 3 years, there's guys with opportunities to redshirt. We won't know that for sure, and that's just my philosophy. Keep everybody's foot to the fire. You never know. Who's having a really good open season tournament, who can go to the Midlands Championship and do something as an unattached wrestler, who can go to the Scuffle and win. Those things will all determine, like I said earlier, we'll use that first semester, a bunch of these quads we're starting the season out, who we're going to pull out to give us the best opportunity to win at the highest level. And we talked with this team quite a bit preseason-wise about winning a trophy at the national tournament. Something we feel we can do. We have the manpower. We got a lot of firepower in the lineup, and that's something we've talked about. And we spend a great deal of time discussing about the team, and if everybody's in the right spot, pulling their weight, doing their part, we have a chance here. Now, this is a long season, right? That doesn't happen till March, so we have to take care of business today. Today's a huge practice for us, and obviously this weekend's important, but there's something at the end of this tunnel that we're looking at that maybe we haven't looked at in a long, long time here. So that's the way we're approaching the season. That's what we feel. Now, we have to be smart. We have to have our mindset's got to be geared towards March, no question about it. We got to be smart with our athletes as far as injuries, when they're ready to go, as far as red shirts, when or if we should pull guys out to give us the best chance to score points at the national tournament. So I think right now our guys are super focused on that. They're super focused on what needs to be done to have the best possible team in program history, and that's kind of the way we're looking at it right now. Just a couple reminders, and I'm sure obviously it'll come up and you'll talk to him later, but Sebastian's decided to stick with the team next coming weeks and not go out to Serbia and wrestle to U23. So obviously we're pretty happy about that. At least I am. I know just the schedule and how it presented itself, maybe it wasn't the best for Seb from a training and a competition standpoint, but I think ultimately he likes to be with his teammates, and this is his last go-around, and he certainly wants to enjoy that building over there. So he'll get the opportunity to do that November 7th. So with that, I'll open it up to you guys with questions, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, real quick, guys, there's two individual microphones. Just raise your hand, and we'll do your best to get the microphones. Crash right there to your left.
Scott, I guess, do you feel like already you know this is your best team here?
I mean, on paper, right? On paper, we've always had some really good teams with some incredible credentials. And, I mean, heck, we started, I think my second year, we had the number 3 recruiting class in the country, right? So on paper, there's always been some really good teams. And I just think the reason why I think this could be our best team is because there's a lot of belief of what can happen at the national tournament. It's no longer, I want to make the national tournament. It's no longer, I hope to make the starting lineup. I want to have a really good season. I can't wait to wrestle in front of the RAC crowd. It's not about that. It's about winning matches at the national tournament and getting on the podium and placing as high as possible. So that's what it's about from an individual standpoint with our guys. And then there's a lot more focus on the team. What can we do for this program? So that's maybe my reason for the optimism. And I've seen them train all summer long, so that's kind of why I feel that way.
What do you feel about the guys that had that extra year of eligibility due to the COVID year last year? A guy like John Poznansky, for example, All-American last year, but he's still technically a freshman this year. What does that do for the mentality of the guys in that room?
Well, there's two sides to that, right? Like we just got done talking. I think this is our best team, or it could be on paper our best team, but everybody else in the country brings everybody else back. So there's two ways to look at it. Yeah, I like it because I love being around our guys, and I love being around strong-minded guys that have this incredible goal to be the best. And that's what excites me about giving these guys another opportunity. For Seb to have another opportunity in front of fans, that's really important. For Bolsack to have another opportunity to wrestle, that's really important. That's great. So everybody else is still really, really strong. but we're also really, really strong. So it's super, super competitive. I'm glad they all have an opportunity, probably most importantly, to wrestle in front of our fan base, because I think there's nothing like it. And that's what has me fired up.
Scott, what went into the decision for Sebastian to go 41?
I don't know. That's a good question. It's probably something you'll probably ask him here in a little bit. I just think he's bigger. He's plenty strong. He's married into the weight room, likes to lift, and gotten big. And if he's wrestled 65 kilos all summer long in some really important tournaments, and I think he's probably more into wrestling than cutting weight. So that's probably the decision for him, and just wants to stay up and be big again. He's plenty strong, and I know he wasn't big enough last year. That's one match maybe that got away from him, but really against the guy that's world class, and Nick Lee, who I believe is world class, one of the best guys in the world, he's right there with. So I think it's more of a technical thing, more of a wrestling thing on how we could finish some of those matches, but I don't think it's a strength thing. And I know on the third day at the national tournament, maybe he wasn't, but I think he's put some time, and like I said, he's really gotten into the weight room. But again, something you'll probably have to ask him.
And then on the flip side of that, Sammy down to 33, that looked almost impossible at the end of
Yeah, I
last
think
season.
that had a lot to do with the year. Again, something Sammy's here. We'll get an opportunity to ask Sammy. A lot to do with last year. And again, I talked about this with Cratch earlier or last week. It's the up and down. Everybody thinks if you have all this time to make weight, it's easier. It's actually harder. So maybe, obviously, there needs to be an incredible amount of discipline in this, and it's a lifestyle change, which through the first 2 months, we've seen a difference with Sammy. So that's great. But it's a lifestyle. It's something that's got to carry over and carry over and carry over. And if you're going to do it, you got to do it right. And I think being a normal year now and normal preseason, normal practices, and being able to come in all the time and not being shut down every other week like we were last year gives him a really good opportunity to do this. And I think it also, if you see, obviously we know his body type, it gives him an incredible advantage if he's doing it right to be down there, because he was wrestling hard last year and maybe he wasn't doing it right? So he can wrestle really, really hard, and he's super long. So he poses a lot of threats to a lot of really good athletes at that weight.
Guess we'll go up a weight. Mike Van Brill, I mean, one of the COVID guys, he's been here forever. What does he need to do to finally get over the hump this year and get on the podium?
That's a good question. I mean, ultimately that's going to be up to Mikey, right? He's got to. Last year at the Big Ten tournament, he really slowed matches down. He was in every match and then just had a knack for winning them. And then maybe the same strategy took place at the national tournament and came on the wrong end of those. So certain spots he's really got to open up and wrestle. And like you said, he's been around here a long time. Van Brill's been around this program for a long time. So just figuring it out in big spots and opening it up and just having fun with it, letting it fly. And I think you'll see that probably. Not a whole heck of a lot to lose anymore. Again, he's been around a long time. It's time to go to that tournament and get himself on that podium.
Coach, talk about what it's like having Anthony Astronaut in the room this year as a coach on the staff, and what his interaction with the guys like is in the room.
Yeah, it's been great. Anthony's been an incredible addition to our staff. Obviously, he's been around our program, but now he's in a totally different role, and he throws a lot of good ideas, based on his training, and he's been all over the world training, but he challenges me every single day, and it's cool. You get an opportunity to watch a national champ with your technique, with your mindset, probably more importantly. He's been there, he's done that. And then, you have Donnie, who's won 2 national titles, and then we have Miles Martin in our club, who's won a national title. It's no longer, we have plenty of coaches who have been there and done that. So Anthony's been a spark of energy, incredible amount of wherewithal of where we're at, what we need to do. He's still young, he's still a little wet behind the ears, and probably the biggest thing is not everybody's going to train or live it like he did, and he's going to have to understand that, right? He's going to get challenged every day by guys who just don't have the same passion that probably he had. So, but he's been awesome. He's been awesome, and again, he's challenged me in a lot of different areas to make this program better. So it's good to have a fresh set of eyes and ears, and he's been awesome.
Hey, Coach. Brendan Scannell from Flow
Brendan.
Wrestling.
Yeah, good to meet you.
You talked about how some of the goals get elevated. It's not just about winning matches in front of big crowds. And you guys had a couple guys last year who definitely, I'd say, like breakout stars. Poznansky and Turley getting on the podium. Van Brill, you just talked about at Big Tens. Does the preparation change when those goals get elevated, or is it like, look what we're doing, it's paying off, keep doing what you're doing?
I think each guy's different. Each guy, there's no question about it. Each guy is different. Some guys beat to their own drum, right? And some guys need to be really reeled in. Some guys love structure, and some guys like to be left alone. So we communicate, we talk goals, what do we really want to do, and maybe Jackson Turley's training is going to be a little bit different than Sebastian's training or Janzer's training or Paz's just different based on, obviously there's, Sammy with his weight and going down, he may have to do things a little bit different in the weight room compared to what someone like Bolsack or our heavyweights are doing. So the goals are the goals, and I think there's got to be a lot of dialogue on how we can attain those goals and what gives us the best chance. But at the end of the day, the one thing I think we've done a really good job of, or these guys have done a really good job of, is understanding what we've talked about, the team, and what we need to do to the team. So although we may want to do some of our own things, the structure of the team is really, really important right now. And it's hard to do, hard to find, especially in such an individual sport. And listen, there's no question about it. At some days, I got to worry about myself. There's no doubt there's a little bit of selfishness that goes into that, and that's okay. But as long as there's dialogue with the staff and we have a plan on how we need to get to this goal, that's the way we're attacking it.
Hey, Coach. Eric Vesper from On the Banks. Can you talk about the availability of Kiante Hamilton for this season? Is he coming around for the second semester, or?
Well, I know he's not available today. He's practicing over at the football field. But the plan is for him to join us when the football season ends. We haven't gotten off that path. Talking with the football staff, that's still the plan. Talking with Kiante, that's still the plan. Talking with his parents, they show up at every Astronaut tailgate. The parents show up there every time. So the plan's for him to wrestle. But we haven't really, I don't bother him right now. He's in season. I know he's getting a little bit more playing time each and every week. That's great. Good for Kiante. He's a special talent. And when the season ends, probably give him a week off and get him back in the room. At least that's the plan.
Early on, do you have to load up the guys last year who wrestled like 1 bout, 2, 3, 4? Do you make a concerted effort to get them in the lineup more, send them to more opens maybe early on?
Yeah, I want more guys to wrestle. I do. So, for example, we're going to have a quad, 3 matches next week. They're not all wrestling 3 matches. I want more people involved. I want more people in the lineup, because when you have that, there's a chase now. There's somebody behind you. There's somebody, you got to perform, right? Like I said, you keep your foot on the gas pedal, and that's what this is about. Good, healthy competition within those walls back there. And and it's another reason why I hate wrestle-offs. If you just decide to wrestle off and the kid's not going to be the guy, pick up and leave. And we're not about that. We don't want to do that. This is a long season. You're going to need 2 or 3 guys sometimes at a weight, based on injuries, based on health, based on a coach's decision to maybe just rest a guy. So you're going to need that, and that's why it's kind of the reason we're going to start with 2 quads. We're going to travel with a bunch of guys. We're going to weigh in 20 next week and get guys matches.
Coach, how does a guy like Bolsack, a new guy who's really coming in, new transfers, new additions, really kind of elevate that leadership mentality and also kind of, go back to that goal, as you mentioned before, trying to get onto the podium again and at that highly anticipated season too?
Yeah, that's a great question. Greg is a professional. That's the best way to describe him. Super, super professional. He's not a real vocal guy. He leads by his example, how he works, how he lifts, how he comes in here by himself and trains, and he was really doing that for us all summer long. But super, super professional. I'm glad you guys are going to get a chance to speak with him here in a little bit. But he's been through the whole college scene. He's been in a program out in Western Pennsylvania. He's from out there. That's a tough blue-collar town. He brings a lot of that to us, and there's not a whole lot of, it's put my head down, go to work. I mean, you talk about, lunch pail type attitude. That's it. So you'll get a taste of that a little bit today, but really, really good on top. So that's always great. And he's developing some leg attacks. He's got some great workout partners. So it's a really good situation for him. And yeah, that's our job. Can this staff get him where he needs to go? And that's kind of what we're looking at.
Is this the most balanced you've been, especially when and as strong as you've been up top?
For sure. We feel good about what we have up top. There's no question about it. Probably, from 74 up, you already have 2 All-Americans and a guy who's been in the top 10 and another national qualifier. There's a lot of depth there. So 2 really good, 2 big heavyweights that can wrestle. So yeah, there's some guys up there. There's no doubt about it. And yeah, probably depth-wise, the best we've been. Usually and every now and then it could get thin too. You worry about it, and that's where you got to kind of control your practices. But yeah, this is probably the most we've had up top as far as accolades and how good they've been, and so yeah, I would say so, Steve.
Coach, do you have an idea of what you want to do in the middle of the lineup? I know 65's been up and down the past couple of years. Do you have any guys moving up or dropping down, or do you kind of have to play it by ear with the first couple quad meets?
Yeah, we'll play it by ear. I like our 65-pounder. I really do. I like Andrew Clark, and he's our guy right now, and that's kind of where we're at. I mean, Jake Benner will move up, and they'll wrestle, and they'll both be involved the first couple weekends. But I hear all that noise, you know. We got to address that situation. We have a really good one who loves this sport, who loves wrestling, and that's awesome. And he's a great kid who works his tail off. Now, he's young, right? He's young, and Jake's been around longer. Jake's probably a 57-pounder, but because of our depth at that weight, we're going to keep him up, and those guys will both get matches and wrestle. Clark's coming off a surgery in high school, so you never know how that's going to – you don't want him wrestling 40 matches. So both guys need to be involved, ready to go, but I like our kid. I love the way he trains and lives his life. So we're okay there right now.
Is the Big Ten going to allow you guys to do extra bouts again?
Yeah, that's a great question. We've talked about that, had some calls. I think we're going to be able to do it at a lower – like we're not going to have 10 extra matches. It might be 3 or 4. And coaches agree on when. Maybe it's before, maybe it's after matches. So that's all been worked out. And I don't know if they have to go through a ruling and go through administrators, but for the most part, that's what we talked about 2 weeks ago. Extra matches will be on the table for sure, and it'll be up to the coach's discretion on how many and things like that. Not abusing it, though. 2, 3, or 4.
Coach, you mentioned Dean Peterson won't be available first match, but is the expectation that he'll be starting when he does return?
We're going to monitor him. We're going to see where Dean's at. You know, actually, that whole freshman class, I would love to redshirt them all in a perfect world, right? They're super, super talented. They're super hungry. So depending on where we are, you'd like to redshirt them all if we could. I like right now for the opening weekend, I like our 25-pounder, you know, but Dean's really, really good. Anthony White's really, really good. Weaver, Chetta, John O'Donnell's improved. There's guys that if we can redshirt them, we'd like to because there's a lot of talent there in that class. And Joey Oliveri's another one, super, super talented. But we have some good guys that maybe we can, you know, maybe we could sit them out to start. Let's see how they compete. Let's see where they are after the scuffle in the Midlands. And then do we make a decision? If we're beating nationally ranked guys, maybe we go in that direction. Right? If we're knocking off the best in the country, we can compete with the best in the country, maybe we go in that direction. But I really like our lineup starting November 7th.
I guess what went into the decision for the Big Ten only go to 8 conference matches? And are we eventually going to get to a crossover dual meet title match?
Well, technically, that's kind of what we have now. What we have now is we envisioned, like, they wanted to get 1 versus 1, right? That's kind of what they want to have happened. So this has been on the table for a long time. I mean, for years we've wrestled 9 duels. I think we should wrestle 7 duels in the Big Ten. All we do is beat each other up for the month of January and February. But that's my opinion, right? I've only been in the conference 5 or 6 years or whatever it is. So we got it to 8, which is technically now we're going to wrestle the East. The West will wrestle the West, and I believe there's 2 crossovers, 1 based on record and 1 a natural rival, I think. So that's kind of how they want to do it. They want to get 1 versus 1. There was talk to get 2 versus 2, 3 versus 3, 4 versus 4, 5 versus 5, and go all the way down to 7 versus 7, but that's not really materializing. So I think we got Wisconsin based on our records or the way the coaches ranked them. So that's why we drew Wisconsin. So that's kind of where we're at. I think 8 dual meets, they settle on that. That's a good number. We good? Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.